Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's having a fabulous day today. As usual, we have the royal family out and about. We have some stories on Harry and Meghan, and we have some updates to some of the university stories that we've been covering. So let's just jump in and get there, shall we? Let's go. All right, we're going to start off with something that happened on October 12th. King Charles handed out the Queen Elizabeth Prizes for 2023. This went to Professor Martin Green, Professor Andrew Blakers, Dr. Wang, and Dr. Zhao for the invention and development of passivated emitter and rear cell solar photovoltaic technology. Now, this prize, most people don't even know what it is. This is a prize that's given out for advances in engineering. I think that's pretty cool. Moving on. Now we're going to stick with King Charles for a minute. He went to church on Sunday at Balmoral. You know, he and the Queen are on an extended break in Scotland. And so he decided he was just going to drive himself. Kind of nice to see him behind the wheel of the car. But the Queen was not there. So for a moment, when the next picture came up, I looked at it and went, what is Catherine doing there? You know, how is that possible? But then I had to look a little closer. But she does bear a little bit of a resemblance, you know, for scenes like this. Anyway, when he got there, the road was absolutely lined with these fabulous Scottish men, you know, making sure he got into the church safely. Very nice. All right, really quickly, I told you that King Charles had met with the rabbi. Well, he put out a letter. It's a fabulous read. Freeze this and watch it. Good for you, Charles. Way to go. Moving on. Next up, we're going back, excuse me, to the Duchess of Gloucester. Remember, they're still in Northern Ireland. Well, some pictures came out showing her visiting that opera. Remember, I showed you she went to the working rehearsal session, and she heard some music by Mozart and Handel and Schubert. Well, some more pictures came out. Had to show you. And then on a different day, she went to the Kilkeel Harbor, where she learned all about the diversity, the skills of the workforce, and how they sustainably catch the seafood. By the way, this is Northern Ireland's oldest and largest fishing fleet. That was interesting. Moving on. Next up, just a heads up, Princess Anne will be going to a place called Barrow on November 15th because she's patron of the National Association of Citizens Advice Bureau. And so she is going to be going to 3 separate visits while she's there. She is going to reopen the Barrow Citizens Advice Bureau at Ramsden Hall. Then she's going to visit the BAE Systems Submarine Academy. And then she's going to see the ongoing construction of a new multi-million-pound university campus. She's going to be very busy. And then she'll see also a nuclear decommissioning authority at the marine terminal. She's busy. Moving on. All right, let's move on to Princess Catherine. We know it was William's turn. Now it's her turn. She went to watch England versus Fiji in the Rugby World Cup quarter final at the same stadium in France. Now, when she arrived, she was greeted by Rob Briers, who is the president of the RFU, and also Bill Beaumont, who is the chairperson of the World Rugby Association. Pretty cool. Now, I don't have any pictures of it. I wish I did. But the article says that supporters broke through the bars that were lining the streets to the stadium, and they were all dressed as knights. So amazing. Anyway, she got into the stands. She's doing her usual. She's having a good time. She's obviously, there was a joke in there. And yeah, she sat down to watch the match. It's really too bad that we can't see what goes on behind the scenes, because we know that William and Catherine are very competitive, and they have this big rugby rival going on in their household. Catherine is patron of the union and league that covers the game in England, and William is the patron of the Welsh Rugby Union since 2016. So you can just imagine what goes on in their house, especially knowing how competitive these two are. It's like, really? And of course, we found out that Bam! England won. Yay, England. I'm glad that they're able to move forward into the quarter, especially since William's side will not be moving forward into the corner. Pretty cool. Now, when the game was over, and of course England won, Kate went into the England's, changing room where she congratulated the players. She shook their hands. She took pictures. She looked like she was having a great time there. Good for her. And you know what I really like about her, classy person that she is? She also went to the Fiji room to talk to them as well. Very nice. I had to throw this in because I just thought it was hilarious. In the stands, you see these guys holding up the signs. The first guy's sign says, "Divorce and marry me." And the second guy's sign says, "No, not him, Kate, but me." And look at the guy behind him. Moving on. All right, let's move on to the stories now that have come out about Harry and Meghan. They're saying that Harry and Meghan were humiliated when their deal with Spotify was canceled. Obviously, even though they put out a statement saying that they split amicably, everybody knew what had happened. They were fired, and they were fired because they didn't meet metrics, because in 2.5, almost 3 years, all they did was put out 12 podcasts. And let's be honest, people, they were called grifters by one of the executives. We had heard all along there were issues. They needed how many producers to get it up and going? And all she did was take the whole topic and turn it into herself and use it to slag off the royal family. We already know this, okay? So now the stories are coming out that they've opened up discussion with Audible. Well, this is when things get interesting. Neil Sean has put out an article or put out a video. Basically, what he's saying is they really are in talks with Audible. The problem is they don't want Meghan. They only want Harry. And I have a feeling that's what happened with Spotify. They wanted Harry and Meghan. Meghan was, package deal. But then Harry dropped out and it became just Meghan. And that's not what they signed up for. And that's why it didn't go well. So Audible wants Harry. They don't want Meghan. Question is, will Harry do that without Meghan? That ought to be interesting. Now with that, let me just point something else out, which is pretty obvious to everybody. It was Meghan who killed the Spotify deal. Everything that Meghan has tried has not worked. Meghan is the one that's going on those stages. Harry is like her spare. Harry is the follow-up act. We've already seen how this is going. The question is Harry willing to step out from behind Meghan's shadow and take the lead, knowing that it's Meghan that wants to be the star? And Harry has pushed her to the forefront so she can realize her dreams. So how do you think this is going to go over for her if he's the star and she's not welcome? Here we go. Okay. The articles came out. Oh, Harry and Meghan are on another luxurious holiday without their children. Now, there's a lot of talk about these pictures. Are they photoshopped? Maybe they just put the picture of them in there. They're not really there. Who knows? Who cares? They play so many games with the media. Like who cares anymore? If you want to show pictures of you away without your kids for the 50th time this year, who cares? But apparently Harry and Meghan care, because now WME is putting out articles like this. Prince Harry carries Princess Lilibet on his shoulders during a family outing. So now they're having to reach back to the Netflix show and pull pictures from that and go, look what a great dad he was. He was walking around with the baby on his shoulders. Look at them with those kids. But they're having to go back to 2 or 3 years ago to find those photos. You see what I'm saying? So obviously somebody's looking at the PR and they're trying to fix it. Now I have to be honest. If you have to go back in time to a docuseries that came out however long ago with stuff that was taped, however long ago, to show people what a great parent you are because you're spending time with your kids, then something is wrong. I've said it before, I'll say it again. WME is fighting an uphill uphill battle. And remember, Harry's not signed on. It's just Meghan. No. And of course, whenever their brand really starts to falter, WME steps up and tries to say, remember, not that long ago, they had renewed their relationship with Sophie and Edward. Well, now this article is coming out saying that King Charles would really like to just cut them off at this point, but there's a problem because they retain a close bond with Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice, and there's such a good relationship, especially at the coronation. Now, when they said that, I looked at this picture. I don't think so. They're saying that this relationship is a gateway for potential leaks about information, but I think you can plug those leaks pretty easily by simply not giving them any information. It's that simple. But I don't believe that they still maintain a good relationship with these two. Sorry, I don't see it. All right, I'm going to stop and do just a little update here. We know that this girl, she's a Muslim student at Las Positas College in California, charged at a Jewish student and said some really nasty things. And I wrote a letter to the school and I said, I'm going to be doing a video on this. Could I get a response? They didn't respond. However, she's been removed from the school, which is as it should be. Which takes me back to Hamas Harvard. Because the president has had so much backlash at this point that she put out a statement. She said, "Let there be no doubt that I condemn the terrorist atrocities perpetrated by Hamas. Such inhumanity is abhorrent, whatever one's individual views of the origins of long-standing conflicts in the region." Now, this was part of the statement that she made on the 10th. There was more than just that statement. She also made a statement on the 9th, because I'm guessing she made a second statement on the 10th because the first statement didn't go over well. You know what I'm saying? Now, we know what happened. The Harvard Undergraduate Palestine Committee, whatever, wrote that letter, and there has been huge backlash because their statement was that Israel was entirely responsible for the Hamas attack. 34 other student body organizations also signed this letter. And I'll have you know that people on both sides of the aisle stepped up and said this is terrible. Ted Cruz spoke up and said that their silence was indefensible. So Harvard had to do something. Now, part of her statement said, and I'm reading it straight out, "Let there be no doubt, I condemn the terrorist atrocities, and on this matter, while our students have the right to speak for themselves, no student group, not even 30 student groups, speak for Harvard University or its leadership." A lot of people pointed out that while she did put out a statement, she didn't condemn the statement. And it was pointed out that universities usually put out statements for every little thing they see wrong in the world, but yeah, that's not happened here. So I guess my point about all of this is that one of the smaller schools took the bull by the horns and got rid of the girl that was assaulting other people, but Harvard's not doing that. Moving on. All right, let's go back to Harry and Meghan. You know, Meghan's ex-husband didn't sign an NDA, so he could write a memoir about their marriage. Remember, she used to call him Trevity Trev. And they were together for like 6 years. Then they got married. And less than 2 years later, she sent the rings back in the mail. So she married Prince Harry. And Trevor, who's now the CEO of a production company, married a woman, are you ready for this? Who's worth $300 million, whereas Harry's worth $10 million. So there is some talk and speculation that Trevor could write a book and that maybe it's time for him to speak out. I think it would be interesting because after all, she did blindside him with the divorce. Personally, I don't think he's going to. He's moved on. He's happy. Moving on. All right, moving on. How much are Harry and Meghan really worth? People seem to think they're worth like $100 million, but that's not true. They're saying that more than likely they're worth about 60 million, which is about 47 million pounds together, because of Meghan had like 5 million. the majority of the money came from Harry. Yes, because of the money left to him by his mother. We already know that while they signed this $20 million contract with Spotify, they didn't get that money. They're lucky if they even got $3 million because they didn't meet the metrics and the contract was canceled. Now, the Netflix contract, again, people seem to think that Netflix just handed them $100 million. That's not how it works. They have to produce. They have to meet metrics. Their Live to Lead didn't do well. The Invictus didn't do well. Pearl got canceled. So people think they're worth like $150 million. That's not true. And just as an FYI, she's always in new clothes. I guarantee you the freebies are gone, and he's always in old stuff. All right, next up, apparently Harry and Meghan are really upset because Amal and George Clooney had the second annual Albie Award. It's the benefit that's hosted by the Clooney Foundation for Justice. It's all A-listers, unbelievable people there, and Harry and Meghan did not get an invitation. This is why she invited these people to her wedding, because that way they're friends and they have to be invited to all of these things. You know who was there? Randy Gerber and Cindy Crawford, Emily Blunt, John Krasinski, Matt Damon. We already covered all of this. The big name people were there. Now, the article says that of all the snubs, this is the most hurtful because they were their wedding guests and they went from trusted confidants to totally ghosting them. Here's what, and by the way, George and Amal had Harry and Meghan twice at their home in England. So here's what I think happened. I think they used them. I think we know that they used their jet to go to her baby shower. I think they very quickly caught on to the fact that they were being used and they said, no, not happening. And they got rid of them like everybody else. This is no different than the Obamas and everybody else that have dumped them off. But there's one other thing. There's one other reason. And I'm sure you guys even know this too. Wherever they go, Meghan overdoes it. She over-emotes. She has to be the center of attention. So when you go to these charity events, nobody's talking about the charity. So she wanted to be bigger than life. And now she's gotten so big, nobody wants her around. All right, you guys, you know what I'm looking for. Write those comments down, make them good. If you've donated to my coffee fund or through the thanks button, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.